This week on Quality Digest Live, digital transformation. What does it take to join the newfangled world of Industry 4.0? Well, we'll find out when we come back. Welcome back to Quality Digest Live. QDL is your weekly look at who and what is making news in the world of quality. I'm Dirk Ducharme, Editor-in-Chief of Quality Digest. Since about 2010, the topic of digital transformation has been the focus of considerable attention in almost every industry, and whatever you want to call it, Industry 4.0, Manufacturing 4.0, arose by any other name. The idea is this promise of digital platforms that provide a single source of truth for collecting, analyzing, and sharing data across and information across the organization. So imagine a data-driven decision-making to confront any sort of challenge. So it's simply a matter of purchasing the correct technology and you're ready to roll with Industry 4.0, right? You've made the digital transformation just by writing a check. Well, maybe not so much. Our guest today is frequent contributor Nicole Radziwill, Senior Vice President of Quality and Strategy at Ultranauts. She is an ASQ Fellow and an editor of Software Quality Professional with a PhD in Quality Systems from Indiana State University. Hi, Nicole. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, Dirk. Nice to be back.
Let's kind of start with defining a few terms here. When you say digital transformation, what is that and how does that relate to, I don't know, digital manufacturing, Industry 4.0, Manufacturing 4.0, all the various terms that are out there? Can you kind of connect the dots of what digital transformation is and how it ties into all that?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, around 2016, I started noticing there were a lot of companies, a lot of organizations really interested in this idea of digital transformation. And so I set out to figure out, what is it? How do you do it right? What are all the components of it? And I have a book coming out with Quality Press from ASQ in just a month or two on that topic. So one of the things that I found was, much like the concept of quality, there were a lot of different definitions of what was digital transformation, what was it good for, how would you do it, which was really interesting because companies were, there were millions of dollars being invested in this concept. Back in December, even the magazine Forbes noted that between 70 and 80% of all digital transformation initiatives that were launched between, say, 2012 and 2019 failed. So, it was really something that I was interested in to figure out what is this and what does it mean. So here's the bottom line. What digital transformation is incorporating technologies to connect people and machines and data, to add or augment intelligence to business processes or production processes, and then to automate. Basically what you're trying to do when your organization engages in a digital transformation initiative is you want faster and better decision making. You want quicker time to value. You want to be able to reach the vision, the aspiration of Crosby's zero defects. And so, through these emerging technologies, by applying them in smart, strategic ways, we can get closer and closer to achieve those visions that were set decades ago. So, you asked about what's the relationship between digital transformation and Industry 4.0. And basically what I found out from looking at about 600 to 700 research articles, case studies, is that the way that organizations do digital transformation, if you're in manufacturing or heavy industry, is Industry 4.0. So Industry 4.0 is digital transformation for those industries. But, you may have noticed, you even mentioned that manufacturing 4.0, well, other industries came up with their own 4.0s. There have been papers written on tourism 4.0, on healthcare 4.0, and there's tens of other examples of this. When you see those same concepts of implementing the connected, intelligent, and automated systems into industries beyond manufacturing and heavy industry, that's where we get into what businesses are calling digital transformation. One of the most interesting things that I found from looking at all of these research articles and case studies was that when you take a look at the initiatives that have succeeded and you compare them to the initiatives that have failed, one thing stands out. The successful initiatives are the ones that have focused pretty much entirely on achieving specific quality and performance goals. So, that you probably heard quality 4.0. And, what I found out is that quality 4.0 is using those technologies specifically to achieve quality and performance goals. And that is the secret sauce to successful digital transformation. But, the question still stands, okay, that's great. It's nice that we know what makes these initiatives successful. How do you actually do it? And, how do you set this up in a way that's simple and easy to do for any organization? And that's what we're going to talk about in the webinar next Monday.
Okay, and before we get to that, and actually before we continue, I think you're bumping your table every now and then, and it makes your video kind of.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Just wait.
No, we're having small earthquakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, we get that out here.
Right.
You mentioned something briefly. I think you said Forbes had mentioned millions of dollars being spent. So I mean, it sounds like for a company, part of the digital transformation is really an expenditure of money on what, software and hardware, right? I mean, you're not going to do this for free.
So it really depends on the industry. Obviously, if you want to bring automation into manufacturing, then there's going to be a pretty significant investment, not just in the hardware, but in the software to drive those systems, and also in retooling your manufacturing workforce and making sure they have the digital and data literacy to be able to work with those systems. So I would say that it really depends on what industry you're in. There's some very simple and easy ways where you can connect people to data, to software, to machines. There's some very simple and easy ways where you can add to or augment intelligence. And there's other simple ways, like for example, there's SaaS software systems out there for improving productivity in various aspects of your operations. And because the cost of those systems is so much less than it was even 10 years ago, it's easier to get involved. It's easier to go from your manual processes to processes that are really sophisticated without the huge investment that you would have to make even 5 or 10 years ago.
But and it isn't as easy as just whatever amount of money you spend buying some software or using software as a service and maybe buying some IoT devices and hooking it all up and off it goes, right? I mean, that would be foolish to think that. And I believe you said that, is this where kind of quality 4.0 comes in kind of easing this transition?
Yeah, exactly. You hit on something really important there, which is when you look at a lot of these digital transformation failures, you see people in the C team who've said, hey, here's some great technology, go find a way to implement this. And by taking that approach, by taking the technology first approach, you're missing opportunities to add value for your customers and to really realize important parts of your strategy. So one of the things that organizations should be encouraged to do is not implement technology for the sake of technology alone. I mean, we've known this for several years, but it's becoming even more pronounced now because there's so many more options and opportunities and shiny things that you can and want to spend your money on. So figuring out whether that's the right decision, making those buy versus build versus partner decisions are becoming even more important. And so that also factors into your digital transformation strategy, or at least should play a very prominent role.
Okay, and what is quality 4.0? You've mentioned that a couple times. What is it and how does it tie in? I mean, it always seems a little nebulous to me when we say quality 4.0.
Yeah, absolutely. So quality 4.0 is simply using connected, intelligent, and automated technologies, whether they're established or new. A lot of them are emerging, so people are just becoming used to them, but connected, intelligent, and automated technologies to achieve quality and performance goals. And so by using those technologies in those very specific and well-defined ways, and you have to define them for your entire organization up front so they know that's what you're aiming for, that is the secret to successful digital transformation. So, I'll make the bold statement, quality 4.0 is what will get you to successful digital transformation. All it is taking that quality focus, making sure that quality and performance is front and center and well-defined, and that you've established those good habits in your quality management system, and that you use those throughout your organization. So, organizations that have new digital groups or new chief digital officers, I know that that's only with the larger groups. What those organizations need to succeed is a really solid foundation in all of the tools and techniques that we in the quality community are really familiar with. It goes across.
Well, you just said something there that I want to key in on a little bit. Is you meant larger organizations might have a CIO or somebody who can kind of take over and an entire department that can kind of take over this whole digital transformation. But the majority of companies in the United States are small. They're less than 50, less than 10 people, even manufacturing companies, mom and pop machine shops and so forth. Are they going to be involved in this at all, or are we really just talking something that is for large companies where with both the money and if not the money, at least the time and the energy and the employees to put into establishing and maintaining and performing this digital transformation?
Yeah, so any organization of any size, whether you have 10 people or 1,000 people or 80,000 people, it doesn't matter. If you're using new and emerging technologies, new and emerging digital technologies to connect people and data and machines, and if you're using those technologies to add or augment intelligence and using them to automate processes, if you bring all of those elements together specifically, with specific quality and performance goals in mind, then you are engaged in a digital transformation. And if you're a really small organization, you don't have to choose the most expensive solutions. There's plenty of organizations right now that are focused on moving from paper-based systems or Excel to systems that are slightly easier to manage, especially if you have multiple sites or people working, remotely, like more people are going to start doing now. It doesn't matter if you're small or large, there are ways to connect, to add intelligence, and to automate.
Okay, well, you mentioned earlier on that there is a webinar coming up on this. The webinar is Making Digital Transformation Work for You. It's going to be March 17th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're going to cover in there, what attendees can expect to take away?
Yeah, so as part of the research that went into writing the book that's coming out just within the next several weeks here, one of the, in addition to answering the question, what is digital transformation and what does it mean to any organization? I had lots of people ask me, well, say that's great, but how do I do it? What are the steps that I should take? And so that's what we're going to cover in the webinar on March 17th. If you've heard about digital transformation, or maybe you've even had a failed digital transformation initiative and you want to know, what should I do next? Either how can I start from scratch, or how can I, if I'm going to do it again, how can I learn from the lessons that other organizations have gone through? We're going to give you a roadmap to help you establish or grow your digital transformation initiatives.
Okay, terrific. Well, Nicole, thanks for joining us once again on the show. Appreciate you being on here.
Good to see you again, Dirk. Thank you.
All right, we'll see you at the webinar. And also, if you're interested in the webinar or a book, the book that Nicole was referencing there, there's links to both of those underneath the player page there. So check out the link to the book to take a look at the book, and be sure to click on the link for the webinar so that you can sign up for that as well. Again, that webinar is Making Digital Transformation Work for You. That's March 17th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to sign up for that. And like I said, check out the book as well. Okay, that is it for today's Quality Digest Live. As usual, if you have some ideas of who or what you'd like to see on the show, just send those to us at qdl@qualitydigest.com, and I'll try to get them on here. So next week, we will see you back here on the show. So long.